world continues its life, and it's beautiful. It only puts humans in cages. I think it's sending us a message. You are not necessary. The air, the earth, water, and sky without you are fine. When you come back, remember that you are my guests, not my masters. Signed, Mother Earth. On the back of this strong warning, let me say good evening to you and welcome to this evening of bliss, right here in this beauty of a place we call Peduase Resort, right here in Ghana, the center of the world. I am, by the grace of God, Jerry Ajogoro, and I welcome you warmly on behalf of this great family of ours, the ventured professionals, and to this, their flagship program, Migrating to Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening we come here as a critical mass of stakeholders of both the motherland and the diaspora. Our engagement tonight is going to contribute immensely to nation building as we build a support network for the diaspora, as well as building a bridge. But most importantly, tonight we're going to create some very enduring relationships. Can I have some shouts in the house? Oh, come on, can I have some shouts in the house? And so, as a precursor to tonight's engagement, it is fitting that we begin with a time of networking. And so, we have food, and it's like free SHS, attempt all questions. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, we encourage you to bond, make a new friend, and even if your ex is here, try and reconnect in the name of God. And in the next 15 minutes, we shall begin officially this evening's engagement. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, Jazz Kings Band, a round of applause for them. And so I encourage you to please come by and take out anything at all that would work for you. Okay, from the UK. Where else? Do we have Germany here? Holland, yes. Which other nationalities here? Canada, that's you. And then Australia? No, Spain? Okay. Now, what do you realize when you come to Ghana for the first time, or you linger on for a few times? You get to know that we're rich in culture. You talk to a Ghanaian, he says, "Eh, sir. Oh, eh, sir." It is called the Ghanaian Orchestra. And so we're going to do something so that we get together as one big family of Ghanaians. Can we do that? Give me a little balugu. Ba, 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 ba. And this table says, ah. Let's go. Again. Let's go. Now these two tables say, oh. Let's go. 1, 2. Let's go. Now these two say, share. And this last table, and these people say, share. Hey. 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 So together we go. Let's go. Ah. First two tables. Oh, first two tables. Ah. Let's go. For the last time. One more time. Now these two. Louder, please. Okay, let's go. For the last time. These two tables. Let's go. For the last time. One more time. Now the big four. Hey! Hey! Ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a round of applause. We can't certainly discount the power of the diaspora in nation building. You contribute immensely to our nation's economy through remittances being one of the great backbones of our economy. However, in times like this, we need to improve and scale upon that, find sustainable approaches to developing our economy together, you, the diaspora, and us on the motherland. And that's why platforms like this are necessary, where we share and interact and transfer knowledge, skills, and other things which would really scale our economy beyond where it is right now. In a knowledge-based economy, these platforms really serve as the foundation of a very prosperous economy. And that's why the Migration to Ghana has been put together by this great group, the FinTech professionals. And I trust that our evening here will be worth the while. I want us to position ourselves as cabinet ministers and do something for Ghana. For the next few minutes, I want you to write down these tasks. This table, you are going to build a school within this area For the next few minutes, I want you to deliberate amongst yourselves. Find working frameworks and you will make a presentation to us. Is that nice? Oh yeah. And this table is going to build a hospital, ladies and gentlemen, for a deprived area. Put your hands together for them. Now you are going to show us how you're going to do that, given the strengths that you have, the networks that you've built, and you're going to present that to us. Will you be able to do that? Okay. Why don't we go to this table and let's see what they can also do. Between building roads and a recycling plant, which would you prefer?
Well, we have someone here who's actually building a road.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, they are building roads. A round of applause for them. Okay, so of this great event, it's my pleasure to invite the co-founders. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together.
You will lead with networks as it's meant to be the title of the program. Later on today, we will have panelists that will speak and you can ask questions because they are in Ghana and they're kind of doing what you intend to do, whether it's permanently or temporarily. But we understand that there's some people that are here from Ghanaian origin and also others that are not of Ghanaian origin. We're all as important as each other. But today, with the task that Jerry's given you, we do want you to engage, and it's not going to go anywhere. No one's going to go give us sponsorship, but the aim is that you leave with purposeful networks. So at the end, on your table, you remember that, oh, I spoke to him, he made a joke, she's actually building a road. I didn't know that. So had that not been done, you wouldn't have heard that. So maybe you want to build a road, you want to sell tarmac. That's where you can network. And that's the whole point of it. There's so many networking events out there. We wanted to make it purposeful and build a community so you can say, I want to be this person's friend. I want to add this person to my networks. And that's the whole point of today. So do enjoy, do engage. Don't just do the typical shy Ghanaians, I'm shy, I don't want to talk. Exchange numbers, if you have networks, add each other on LinkedIn, add each other on social media, but not Tinder, because we're not held accountable for that one. But I'll give the mic back to Jerry. Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you to Peduase Valley Resort as well, and all our sponsors, but I'm sure Jerry will do that as well. But while Mr. Peduase Valley Resort is here himself, I would like to acknowledge you and give you a very big thanks. Thank you to the team.
Thank you very much, GIPC, together with the Beyond the Return Secretariat, Caveman Watches. Let's hear it up also for the House of Safari. And ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm forgetting somebody. Apollonia City. Together, let's hear it up for all our sponsors. All right. It promises to be a fun-filled event, and for the next few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, you may start work. Just please give us something soothing in the background.
You've been kept down for much too long. Stand up, please, and say I am free. Don't forget you are welcome home, welcome home. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy and gay. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy and gay. You've been gone, it's an empty home. Come on.
Once we had some of our clients working up our building, as soon as they went up, we notified the claims department. We heard some noise and saw that one of them had tripped. Just before he fell to the ground and died, we sent him out his check in the window. He caught it, fell to the ground and died. And looked at the client in the face and said, listen, I'll not promise you anything. I'll exceed your expectations. Who do you think won? The last one, of course. And so during this time where we're going to share our presentation, ladies and gentlemen, don't be shy. Just say it as it is. You know, there's no competition here. We're just going to share. So let me begin with this table. What are your findings? Who is representing the group? Madam, it falls to you.
Disrupt the education system here in Ghana. And our idea is primarily to create an opportunity to help as a result of the advancements in technology. And so what we wanted to do was create a school, tertiary education we're looking at, adult education, 18 plus, focusing on industrialization and digital, making sure that people who leave our organisation are equipped to be able to go out and actually work and be able to earn a decent living. So we're going to be focusing more on the vocational. Alongside, we're trying to remove all barriers to entry. So we are going to be including on-site accommodation available all year round, that we will seek to have subsidised by the diaspora, and inviting blue chip companies to be able to invest so that we can ensure that we're removing all barriers and to give our Ghanaian young people the best start. We want to be able to solidify their learning through the offering of internships at the end of semesters, so that we can ensure that there is also the practical experience alongside the formal learning. We understand that this is launch an awareness campaign to ensure that what do you call the secondary schools? Like to just help people become familiar with the concept. We also recognise that many people who would benefit from this have been outside of education for perhaps some time, and so we want to emulate the charter schools in the US. In principle, to bring up those who may have been outside of formal education or lack the formal qualifications, to bring them up to a standard that they will actually be able to thrive. And by doing so, we hope that we will be able to offer new opportunities to Ghanaian young people and also help to plug the skill shortage that will arise as time goes on. And that's all from us.
We have a new Minister of Education.
We took on the project. First, our project name is Project Hawkeye. And we took on the responsibility of the roads, but we took it a step further and focus on the motorways. So the first thing that we need to do is the expansion. No more 2-lane highways are going to be built in Ghana. From now on, there are 4 lanes minimum, at least 2 for each side, with dividing lanes going down the middle so we don't get that square of the traffic. Competitive contracts, as you all know, the Chinese are running a lot in Ghana. Somebody needs to give them a run for their money. So every time the Chinese touch something, that's more and more that Ghana becomes into debt. The more that we do it self-sufficiently, we do it on our own. Also with the competitive contracts, there's no debt adjusted to those. A highway assessment team is needed. So anytime that there's an accident, it can be swiftly taken care of. Also, that can take care of breakdowns, and that team can always clean the highways of dirt, debris, and things that can cause other accidents that can lead to fatality. Infrastructure-wise, keep the toll jobs. Don't be like the Americans and try to eliminate as many jobs as possible. So all the ladies and men that are working at the toll booths, they should keep their jobs. This will also increase the flow of traffic and the flow of goods in and out of Ghana. We can go as far as building a tunnel, so people who are going longer distances can go underground. People who are going shorter distances can stay above. They don't conjoin, basically, and create confusion. This increases revenue, especially with the motorbikes. So there should be a lane dedicated for the motorbikes, and if they decide to go outside that lane, they should succumb to stricter punishments and laws by the government. Funding, I'm a firm believer in Gaddafi. So every sale that was made from resources, a portion is taken from oil, diamonds, gold, bauxite, and all those things, and go to a specific fund just for these projects. Also, we could do private sector. In Houston, Texas, we have, we call it the Beltway. So to avoid traffic, you pay for it. And actually, those of you from the UK, y'all actually own that highway for the first 10 years that it's built. We don't even own it for the first 10 years that it's built. So all revenue that's from that highway is given to the UK because they had the funding to back it. So if someone had the capital enough to do that here, they could do that. The last thing that we have is, as far as the government, renewal of the license every 5 to 10 years. This increases driving skills. But that also brings in revenue because every time you renew your license and gain your skills, you're giving money to the government and stricter laws upon the highway. And that's it.
And if COVID has taught us anything at all, it has taught us to be self-reliant. within Accra and even beyond, where you have a lot of rough roads and all that. So we want to use recycled ties, or want to use ties to build our roads, ties and rocks to build those minor roads. So we have those ties, and then we cut the side of them and then use the inside we staple them together, put the rocks on them, okay, and then have some sort of something that can stick the rocks onto the ties. We put them onto the ground to make them firm. We have a car that goes onto it so that it sticks the rocks onto the ties and then onto the road in turn. And then we also have an idea of using recycled bottles filled with sand to use them as pavements that would make them beautiful, as in the roads, those minor roads make them beautiful. So those are the road ideas we have for the minor areas. Okay, yeah.
Ladies, has turned out to be a blessing. Here you are coming with skills and great knowledge to build this economy. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we don't take this platform for granted. Let's build on these networks as we proceed for dinner. I'm told that we have rubber gloves in view of the times we live in. Please pick one and the ushers will guide you as to what to do. Bon appetit. We'll be back in 15 to continue with our deliberations. Just Kings, give us some music. Thank you.
Time, because it's a different economy and it's a different world, and you have to have. When I moved back here, I think I was 27 or 28. I had time. I had 5 years to kill without the baggage of kids and so on, because there are good times and there are bad times. You need to give yourself a clean 5 years to grow into your boots, understand the economy, see where you fit. You might arrive thinking you're going to do A and realize that B is more where you would succeed. So take your time, keep pushing. What I always said in my software business is that every 5 years, something good happens. So we have 5 years lean, the next 5 years are great. And when you have the great years, you have to invest sensibly to sustain you through the lean period. So I don't know, I think I've spoken too much. That's enough. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mohameda El Muhajir. I've been living in Ghana for the past 6.5 years. I moved here from New York. I originally did graduate school in 2003. Interesting story. When I came to do graduate school, I actually was interested in moving at that time, but when I got to Ghana, I was like, don't think it's time yet. So I went back, and then I didn't come back. I didn't come to Ghana for about 10 years. I came again in 2013. And at that time, so much had changed. It was like a completely different world in that 10-year span. And I wasn't even in my mind to move. I just was like coming here for a few days. And on that trip, it just clicked. I was like, now is the time. So I, began to make some preparations. I'm sure that many of you are in that phase. LinkedIn is your friend. I went on LinkedIn and I was just like, is there anything in Ghana? What can I do when I go? Just kind of like doing a little research. And I found an opportunity. It was a fellowship at a tech entrepreneurial school called Nest, which Herman is very familiar with. And I did a 1-year fellowship. And I figured in that 1 year, I would know if, those 4 days, how it is when you come on vacation, if it was the right thing, or if it was just a vacation. So after 1 year, I decided, I was going to stay. And since that time, I've started a business. I own a digital marketing and PR agency. It's called Wax Print Media. We do digital marketing for a number of brands. We do public relations. We do a bit of digital advertising. And really, I started with one client. I mean, just very, very small, very humble. That's one thing about Ghana. Even though I work with very big companies in the US, I work with Nike, I work with Pepsi, I work with, Volkswagen, I work with big companies. You can't come to Ghana with that kind of mentality, like I know it all because I did this out there, so I'm gonna teach them. If you do that, you're gonna fail, because people in Ghana, like they might not yell or be aggressive with you, but they won't have it. So I started very, very humbly, but I'm proud to say that in the past 3 years, my business has really grown. I've worked with some mostly international brands and some Ghanaian brands, but KLM, Air France, Jaguar, Land Rover, Remy Martin, Pernod Ricard, a number of international brands, and the word gets out. Most of those brands because they're international brands, they need a certain standard internationally. So the way that's happening in France or any other place in the world, US or Hong Kong, they need the work done in the same way. They need the reporting done in the same way here. So I work in that way, and then the word gets around. So I've really been able to grow my business. I'm excited about the future. I think there's so many opportunities. You have to be in here on the ground to see the opportunities. I would have never been in New York thinking I'm gonna go to Ghana and start a digital marketing agency, but on the ground, I saw that was an opportunity for me. And I've been successful in that. And another thing, I've been able to train a number of young people, in an international standard, the way we communicate, the way we exchange, the way we work with clients, they can now go on to work, pretty much at any other company. So I'll end there and pass the mic on. Thank you.
Hello. Yes. So just a quick background on me. My dad's Ghanaian, my mum's from Northern Ireland in the UK. An unusual mixture. My dad went to study medicine in Belfast in Northern Ireland at the end of the 50s. I met my mum, the rest is history. We moved to Ghana when I was a teenager and lived here for 5 years. And then I went back to the UK, and actually it was 20 years before I actually came back to Ghana in 1999. And then I came again in 2010, and at that stage, with the advent of the oil, etc., I'm a civil engineer by profession, and family and friends I had in Ghana said, look, this is a really good time to look at infrastructure, because there's a lot of opportunities in that regard. So I came very naively in 2010, had a lot of meetings with people, and in comparison to the UK at that time, and as Herman was saying, things, one, are very mature or there's no growth. And at that stage in the UK, it was just still in the recession. And every meeting I went to sounded wonderful. There were so many opportunities. People were talking about contract, put in your proposal here, you'll get a contract, etc., etc. And, there's a lot of things that you learn very quickly, that because you come with the mindset of how things are in the US or the UK or whatever, where things are very established and you automatically assume that it's the same framework here. Trust me, I learned very quickly that there's a lot of things you chase that really there's nothing to them, there's no substance. So I came here in 2010. I was still working for a company in Belfast, and I went back to them and said, look, I think we should set up a branch. I obviously have a vested interest because Ghana is my home. I said, look, we're not doing much new stuff in the UK. In fact, the company was looking at opportunities in the Middle East. And I said, look, I'll look at Ghana and let's see what we can get. And after shuffling backwards and forwards between the UK and Ghana for about 3 years, we finally sort of sourced something that will look like an attractive opportunity and won our first project in 2015. From 2015 onwards, I've spent probably, the last 2 years I've lived in Ghana, but before that, from 2015 up to 2018, I was traveling backwards and forward every other month or so. And I guess the thing that I would say in terms of my experience is you absolutely need patience and perseverance. You need to get your BS radar intact very quickly. And I think really what helps more than anything is and I think this is why opportunities and events like this are very, very useful, is try and get a network where there's people who have been working in Ghana and have been through all the pitfalls of trying to do things, because it can take a long time and can be very frustrating, and many people can give up. I mean, you had a very positive approach, Herman, by saying, it's going to work for me. And I guess probably the people that have succeeded are the ones that actually really feel that. And I must admit, my first job, consultancy job, was with Ghana Water, and I spent most of my 18 months running that project, chasing payments, and yeah, it was painful, but in amongst that, I sort of thought to myself, well, actually, this is a very good lesson. As long as I get the money in the end, it's a very good lesson, and I think there are endless numbers of opportunities here. What I ended up doing was I left the company that was my safety net. We're paying my salary while I was here, paying for my flights over. But I decided, look, I have really nobody from that company ever came. The MD came once, and that was it. So everything about the company was the people I knew and the opportunities that I had sourced and won, and the relationships I'd built up. So I left it 2 years ago, and it's worked lovely. I really just work with providing consultancy opportunities for infrastructure projects. And I work with other local Ghanaian consultants, and I work on a sub-consultancy basis. So it's basically me, and you can work in that fashion in Ghana. I think it's probably harder I don't know so much about the US, but in the UK, to work in that fashion, but it's very common in Ghana. So, as you say, Herman, obviously, there's not racism here, and also there's no bars to work in a small capacity. And if you want to build up and have a big team of people, eventually you can do that. But equally, if you want to do what I've done, is keep it lean and not have all the hassle responsibility of a lot of staff, but provide opportunities by building a network and associating with other companies, it's there as well. So I think the main things I would share is, as I say, the 2 Ps of patience and perseverance, and get people that are seasoned and know their way around to help you, give you a sanity check, because you can come here and it's sunny and everything seems great, and when people sell you a dream that sounds too good to be true, generally it is. So that's what I'll share for the minute.
Such an integral part, Herman and Mohammed, of my experience here in Ghana. So I would begin by saying networking and just the country and the people in terms of professional fields. It's small, so you really get to know people. I think that this is a great platform we have here tonight to engage. So in my particular experience, I've been in Ghana now for 16 good years. Some say I deserve a medal. But I wouldn't say that, because it's an amazing country, and I've made some incredible connections, and I've really enjoyed my career here, and I'm in the field of higher education. And so, my history with Ghana goes back to 1999, actually, when I first came as a consultant, working with a number of HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, and bringing students over for a cultural and educational experience. Short-term study abroad is what they call it. And I would say my initial connection to Ghana was very much a cultural connection. As you always hear, at the door of literally no return at Elmina Castle, and I said to myself, this is a place I really would like to return to, and I'd like to work there at some point. And so in 2004, I had the opportunity to help New York University jumpstart their first study abroad program on the African continent. And that was just an incredible experience for me.
And let's just say I was in the right place at the right time and I knew how to sell myself. So I would just say in Ghana, you need to be creative, innovative, and be able to negotiate. I mean, West Africa is all about negotiation, and I have learned incredible negotiation skills here. But that's what I did from the beginning. I actually met a group of New York University students and their professor, and I literally said, I've always wanted to work for NYU, and tell me more. And they said that, well, in the next year they would be building their first study abroad program. And I said, well, you need to hire me, right? I literally said that. I had business cards, I had everything, and I went for it. And by the time I returned to the United States, my inbox was literally flooded because I'd sent my CV, and then the next thing you know, they invited me to New York, and in a day, I went and I interviewed in a number of different departments, and 9 months, it took 9 months. 9 months later, when I'd given up on NYU, Ghana, and said, well, I guess I will not be going to Ghana, I'll just continue to do consulting, doing consulting in Ghana and Ethiopia at the time, doing these short-term study abroad programs. I got the job, and they said, you have 1 month to get there. So I came over to Ghana with 2 suitcases, and I began my life, and that was 16 years ago. I never thought that I would stay, but the influence of people like Herman Chenery Hess, who helped me, he introduced me to Accra society, I will say. Every aspect of it, and helped me understand the importance of higher education here and the impact I could have even with New York University. I would say during my time here, what I've learned in education is that, like Ghana as a country, it is a male-dominated field. However, I've still been able to make my mark, and you need to have mentors. So one of the things I just spoke to Herman about is his amazing mother, who was the first female chancellor of University of Ghana. To me, that is powerful. Is it not powerful? Yes. And it's people like her and other women in the industry here who have really encouraged me to continue. So I took that NYU job, and I'm a person, in terms of the non-traditional path, I wanted to already have things set up before coming here. So I wanted to be affiliated with a multinational of sorts, because NYU is all over the world, and I also knew that I needed to have savings to come over, but I wanted it to be set. So I came and I did that job. I took on a 5-year contract. It turned into a 10-year contract. And then just when I said I'd had enough of Ghana and, my patience, he talked about patience and perseverance. And I always have told students that if you don't have patience in Ghana, you will leave. You will not enjoy this place at all. Patience helped me get through the first 10 years. Then I said, I've had enough, I'm going to leave. And at that moment, I was ready to leave. Webster University came to town. So we have a number of private universities that have popped up in the country over the last maybe 20 years. And so there are many opportunities for those of you interested in education in the private sector as well as the public sector. And they poach me, literally, from NYU. And that is what I'm doing currently. I'm heading up Webster University, which is an American institution where Ghanaians, West Africans, and people all over the world who want a US accredited degree in Ghana can get it. And so that is what I'm doing. But I think the main lessons, there have been challenges, of course. I mean, American institutions want to see the American institution and the American setup play out in West Africa. That's never happening. So I've learned that you cannot do that. You have to work and engage. And as I think Muhammad has said, you don't come here with that mindset that you have everything and you can teach everyone everything. You absolutely cannot. You have to learn and engage with people here. And I've learned so much from my Ghanaian brothers and sisters that I believe has made me and helped me to be successful in the field of education. Patience and perseverance, I'm going to take here too. I'm sorry about that. But for me, those are the ultimate ones. And you have to be innovative, creative, and sell yourself. If you sell yourself, you submit a proposal. This is what I can do. And you follow it up and follow it up. Then you end up getting, I think, a solid position. So that would be me. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't talk too long.
17 minutes of amazing stories of barriers and breakthroughs. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause.
About 4 days ago from Los Angeles. It's my first time in Ghana. I heard someone say today that Accra isn't a real good example of the beauty of Ghana. And just being here so far, I'm just amazed at how beautiful this place is. So glad to be here. My question is for the first gentleman. I work in software. I've been working in enterprise software for the last 15 years. I'm over it. I am exhausted, and I'm looking forward to the possibility. So what can you tell me about the software business here, and is there any opportunities?
Okay. So, Clement, let's take two more, and then
my question is simply this. Although we don't have racism in Ghana, we have a lot of socialism, right? So if you're not of a certain class, you don't get certain opportunities, and so on and so forth. And yes, you can be creative and innovative, but to what extent? So advise us on how to get around in this socialist society. Thank you.
An organization called Destination Africa, where we do African cultural workshops for children. We've recently moved to Ghana. I want to thank you for your experience. This question is for Mohammed. You mentioned about training. Can you share some of your experiences and what's worked and what's been effective when training staff?
okay. Let me extend it to two more.
Whereas in the past, you could sell your skills as a coder or a software developer. Our economy is saturated there now. That's not where the opportunity is. Like today when I go to work, I'm not coding. Coding is outsourced. It's no longer a mystery. And so you need time. You need time to understand the economy. You need time to understand the gaps. And then on the basis of that, you can come up with an innovation which is software driven, where your advantages will come to fruit. I'll give you an example. Me, I'm a manufacturing engineer. I've done software all my life. Today, I just flew in from Freetown, Sierra Leone 2 nights ago. What am I doing in Freetown? I'm doing something called African Echoes. What are we doing? We're taking African stories. I've got a whole team, translators, illustrators, whatever. I'm an IT person, I'm a software developer. We have created an app called African Echoes. It's launching in March next year. I went to do a CNN interview on that product. We're taking African stories. We have script writers. They will write them into books. The books will be translated into Swahili, Yoruba, Twi, whatever, and French. Then we will read them in the studio. I had to convert my storeroom in my house to a studio. We will read them Motown style. We're running an operation. Then we load them up on the thing and sell them downloaded around the world for $1. This is what a software person is doing. So I've had to come to understand production, condenser mics, all kinds of things. So it's no longer just software. There's not, I would say, enough business here to support you just remaining that narrow. But I assure you, my company SoftDrive is working on 6 such products. If 3 hit, we are billionaires. And that's the kind of mindset to have. You throw it all out there, and you might miss some, but you will win some. There's a shortcut where you go and work with the government and so on. We've done it before. But there's no copyright protection. It's very, very hard to enforce. So you have to work on things that face the public directly. And you can. You have the skill set. And if you don't have the skills to model the businesses and so on, well, get a friend or a partner. And as Peter said, you need to go out and hang out and understand the economy, understand Ghana, understand people, who's doing what, what's where, etc. And you'll be surprised at how many gaps there are in the economy. I'm telling you, in the next 6 months, we're launching 6 products. Where in the world can you do that? There are that many gaps in the economy. There's like 12. We can only swallow 6 at a time. But there's so many opportunities. Every time you're frustrated about something in Ghana, there's something you can do with software that would help solve the problem. And that's the kind of mindset to have. But you have to go out, talk to people, hang out. If you stay at home, nothing will happen for you. I don't hang out once a week. I hang out 7 nights a week. Every single day. Most times, the whole day. And that's where the money is. The money is not in coding. The money is in hanging out, knowing what is where, and then putting the teams together to achieve those goals. So, coming from abroad where everything is stable, everything already works. My friend Lexi, don't mind her. Yes, she's right. Our society is stratified. Our society is not racist. Racism, you can't change your color. Michael Jackson tried and died. You can, however, enter any segment of this society that you want to enter. You have to understand, when you come from abroad, even if you were nobody where you came from, here's a great opportunity to reinvent yourself. They don't know you. So you have to seize the opportunity. Find who in the society has what you need. And just go in and make friends. Nobody will tell you, get away, you peasant. Nobody will tell you that. There's a way to navigate, and you go consistently. And we have our Ghanaian ways, where somebody has a funeral, it's an acquaintance, you hear they have a funeral, Krista will call me and say, Herman, so and so is having a funeral, the mother died, then I'll go with you. And we go, and they meet, and he says, I really need to know that person. I say, cool, no problem. Weekend, Saturday, come to my house in the brewery, and then I'll invite them. And then the three of us will sit down and chat. At the end of the conversation, Krista has her number, she has Krista's number. Krista came from America. She didn't know Krista, but Krista made it a point. I mean, she is crediting me with stuff, I'm crediting her back. I remember when Krista's father visited Ghana, I was sitting in my house in the brewery, Krista put her dad in a car and drove it, and I said, this is my friend Herman. Okay, that's value to me. So I have to think and say, this one takes me serious. Okay, now I owe her favors. When she calls me and says, Herman, I'm having a bit of a challenge, understanding, so okay, Krista, I'll make some calls. And that kind of thing. So if you push your way through, you will get through. If you sit around and think you're in England and you can never look like Prince Charles, you are right. But in Ghana, you can. There are many, many circles. And it's not completely this way. It's sideways also. So some people may not like you, others do. And there's the funeral crowd. Then there's the abroad people crowd. And there's the Ghana Achimota school crowd. There's the infant swim crowd. And they all work. So you will not be left out. The point I'll make is that for me, even though I had, I grew up in Ghana, but I left as a teenager. When I came back, the gang that I used to hang with, they're all abroad. I had to find a new gang. But I did. Just package yourself, these people I want to be with. What do they do on the weekends? They go and eat imoto and drink apetition. Okay, sorry, for the next year, that's what I'll be doing. Because I need them, they don't need me. So I put myself and go, if I try that shit in Texas where I went to school, they will lynch me. They don't want me there today, they don't want me there tomorrow. So I found it even a great opportunity that I could cross the line into any circle I wanted to cross. They may not accept me 100%, they'll accept me enough to where if I have a good idea, one of them would do business with me, one of them would open the door for me. So this is the mindset.
That means something, right? So I'm just ignorant. But where I found my niche is with the expat community, right? My clients are Lebanese. I broke into the Lebanese community. I have Indian clients. I broke into the Indian community. I have Dutch and French clients. And what I found out is once I have those clients, the Ghanaians are like, oh, she must be serious if they're doing work with her, right? So I think there are ways, to navigate, you just have to, because as she mentioned, there's certain, high or elite class people who wouldn't do business with me. Who is this Akata girl or something, right? But I found my way around it. I think you just have to be creative. So I just wanted to touch on that. Yeah, it can be done. And speaking about training, before I started my company, I worked at another agency and we had a staff of about 100 people. And, most of them are recent college graduates. And I was like, wow, people are really not ready for the workforce, right? So when I started my company, I was prepared that people didn't know a lot. Just in terms of writing emails, writing letters. These are people with math degrees, political science, they're all graduates, but the skills the schools were just not ready. So I understood that. So running my business, I feel like I'm running like a vocational school a bit at the same, because I'm training and working at the same time. So you have to know that. You have to know when you come here, training is a part of any work that you do, any hiring. I don't care what the CV says, you're gonna have to do some training. So that has been my approach. I work in an open plan office, so we're all sitting around in a circle. So if I criticize you, everybody else is learning at the same time, but it's done with love. I'm just not talking down to people. I want them to learn. I want them to see, and then they see how I interact with people, and I empower them too. I'm like, I have a staff member, Ruth, you go to this interview, you take the person to the, Star FM. I'm not going, and then she knows she has to step up. She has to learn on the spot. So I would just say, that has been understanding that I have to train, and then and throughout that training, empowering them. And it's been really good. And I see that, like I said earlier, I just feel like the people who work with me, they can go on to work with anywhere in the world. And I would feel confident.
25 years. I came from abroad. I went to school in America, then worked in England, then came. I encourage people to come back. There's plenty of opportunity. It's our country. We owe it to Africa to build it anyway. Nobody is going to build Africa for us. And you really can't run away from your responsibilities, apart from the business opportunities. I mean, you're walking around in Europe and so on. When people are looking at you, it's like, you see Africa on the TV and it's not looking good. You're walking around here. What kind of economic refugee situation? Your grandmother is sick. You're walking around with your girlfriend smiling. It doesn't make any sense. And this is what people think of us. So, your underwear is dirty. You're getting on Facebook and what's happening in Ghana? It's ridiculous. It's your underwear. You need to go wash it. So you really can't run away from it in a sense. It will never leave you. It's a stigma. It will stay with you forever. But on the flip side, great opportunities and great ways to be. I mean, when I speak to, I moved to Ghana in the 90s. When I look back at my friends who stayed, who were telling me, don't go. I can pay their salaries in England, and I wouldn't notice it on my bank account. I wouldn't notice it. If they took their salaries in England out of my bank account every month, it may take me a year to figure out something's wrong with my account. This is how far we've left them. But it took 10 years for us to get to where now when we go to London, they're like, hey, how can you afford this? When we go shopping with them, they panic. So we had to start holding back because they start insulting you and saying you must be a criminal. What are you doing in Ghana that's yielding this kind of money? I say, you're an economic refugee. You're not expected to earn that much. We are business owners. We employ people. And we are business elites where we come from. And you have to have enough time to make that happen. So I say do it. Network. And there are people like us around who are happy to, as you can see, we're happy to be of assistance for free. So use it.
Okay. People being too positive. But on the other side, there's a lot of people, you can be outside or even in Ghana, that can be discouraging and can simplify the difficulties here. And there's ways to deal with all the difficulties that arise. But overall, there's endless amounts of opportunities. We've all touched on various things from different sectors. But I would say, again, try and get good mentors. Someone mentioned mentors, people that you can, we're hopefully from this, if anyone wants to reach any of us for advice and stuff. I think it's a nice feeling to be able to help people not make the same mistakes that others have made before. But that's not to say that you won't make different mistakes from any of the ones that we've made. But I think there's a lot of opportunities and there's ways of landing yourself in Ghana and finding the right thing to do. Get advice from the right people to help you. And I wish you every success, and please come back. Please come back.
There's so many opportunities. You can, I think we mentioned, reinvent yourself here, and from where you may have been coming from, those opportunities may not have been available. So in my case, for example, to get to the position that I am right now, actually running a full-fledged university on the African continent, I think that would have probably taken another 10 or more years to do in the United States, and here I think people were very receptive to me, and I think folks are receptive to people who are coming from abroad, the different skill sets, the experiences that you have. It's basically an open market for almost anything, whether it's business, education, developing an NGO. There's a lot of openness and receptivity, and they always say that Ghana when you look at West Africa as the friendliest nation, right, in West Africa. And I think that that is true to this day. From the day I arrived, they always said it, and I always say it to students when they're coming on study abroad, and I believe that is true. So people want to hear from you. We also have, a digital divide in education. And I would say for the education sector, we need people who have the technical skills. We need to have teachers that can come and teach disciplines that are not, readily available. They're even outside of the STEM. There's just so much room within the education sector for curricular development and so on and so forth. So I just want to also plug one thing real quick with Webster. If there's anyone who is interested in higher education, we have an interesting program where we invite people to come over for either a semester, which is 16 weeks, or a term, 8 weeks, and you can teach. So if there's anyone who's a faculty member, we pay for your plane ticket, we pay for the visa, and I think someone mentioned that you got to get the experience on the ground, right, before maybe completely relocating. So if there's anyone in education, that's something that we offer. We have a faculty mobility program, and so we would be open to that, and I'd be happy to share my email. And also remember that outside of the networking you're going to do here, LinkedIn may be one of your best friends. Yep. So please make sure that you're on LinkedIn at all times. We always, whenever we have an administrative position, we go on LinkedIn to advertise. There's Diaspora. I'm sure that most of you are aware of Diaspora, Accra Expat, Internations, and those kind of things. So that's the more traditional search outside of the networking, but I also think that those are very good things as well. Be open to the experience, and remember that Ghanaians are very receptive, and I think there's something for everyone here. So thank you very much.
Two possibilities, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it up for our resource person.
I'm Cassandra Blaine. I have been in Ghana for about over 4 years now. The way I came was a little unconventional. I was in the U.S. I'm from the U.S., grew up and everything. I knew probably back in 2012 that I wanted to leave the U.S., but I didn't know where I wanted to go. I was just waiting for something to hit me as far as where to go. I didn't want to go to Europe or anything like that. So time passed. I met a couple of people, probably 3 months I knew them, and they said, oh, we're getting ready to move to Ghana. And it hit my spirit like, okay, that's where you're going. And I came here, I had never been to Ghana before, and I moved here. Packed up everything and moved, quit my job, everything. Came here and did not even have a job when I got here. So I just stepped out on faith is how I look at it, and just came to Ghana, and I was determined to make it work no matter what. So as I got here, I knew a handful of people, I guess through connections. And while I was here, I started meeting more people and more people and more people. It took me a while to find a job, but probably 9 months or so. But during that time, I used it to kind of immerse myself in the culture and to just really learn Ghana and figure out everything that was going on here and how I was going to make this new home work for me. I started off, my first job I got was with a digital consulting company. So my background is kind of varied as well. I have a degree, undergraduate degree in chemical engineering and an MBA, but I didn't do anything with engineering, maybe 6 months out of my entire career, 6 months in engineering. But I spent most of my time in banking technology as a business analyst and project manager. So when I got to Ghana, I just knew I had a hand set of skills and I could make that work in any industry. When I got here, so the first job was a digital consulting company. I stayed there for a few months and then moved from that to a property development company and investment company. And from there, I moved to another company, which was a biochemical startup company. So I got to learn how businesses are started here in Ghana and what it takes. And now I work for a nonprofit company. It's based in the U.S. It's called the Foundation of Orthopedics and Complex Spine, which is a foundation that supports Focus Orthopedic Hospital here in Ghana, which is where I'm located. And they do various procedures on scoliosis, joints. They even recently did a brain procedure, which is interesting. So I've been there for about almost 2 years now, and this is home for me. This is it. So as far as I guess challenges and things like that, I pretty much came with no expectations. I knew this was going to work for me, and I was just going to make it work no matter what. So I just came with open heart, open everything, and I just knew I had a set of skills that I could offer, and wherever I found the right place for that would make it work. As far as, let's see, other challenges, I'm trying to think. I guess for me, the main thing was learning how the electricity and water goes on and off. So that was one of my challenges. And then another thing I did when I got here as well, I wanted to experience all of Ghana. So I didn't just stay in Accra. I went to Cape Coast. I went to the Volta region. I went to the northern region. I've gone to the eastern region, everywhere, just to kind of learn the different places and then how people are in those different places. One thing from me, people look at me and wonder what am I? So my dad is Jamaican, my mom is African American, but a lot of times I get called white lady here, especially before the braids. I just got braids about a week ago, so prior to that, people looked at me a certain way, and I just wanted to, I guess, make sure that they understand I didn't grow up as a white person. I'm not a white person, so I don't know what that's like. And a lot of people that I've run into, they don't understand that. So that was one of the things that I wanted to help people learn here. But I'm pretty much an example of what happened during the slave trade. I guess I'm a prime product of that. But I think that's it. I'll pass it on to someone else. But I would just say, as far as me, just come here with just don't have a whole lot of expectations and just be patient, because it will take time to get things done.
I was born in Ghana. I was born in a small town called Peduase Gold Mine in town. Left when I was a teenager and moved back about 6 years ago. And what brought me back was for the first 5-6 years of my career, I was working for Rolls-Royce, the British aerospace and defense company, and I was in finance. So I worked in finance strategy, business development, etc. And
could you please hold on to that?
Program manager for a project called Link at the time. It has since morphed into a company called C Squared, and worked on that for 2 years. And then about 3-4 years ago, as the company was morphing into an independent entity from Google, I made the call that that was not the route I wanted to take, but I still wanted to have my cake and eat it and still be with Google, and found an opportunity in South Africa as head of Android partnerships. And what that is essentially, for most of you who use devices other than the iPhone, you most likely are on the Android platform. And so we partner with mobile operators, device manufacturers, etc., to figure out how do we drive prices down, how do we drive up smartphone adoption, how do we make sure that people getting online are doing value-added activities online. And so was supposed to move to South Africa, had visa issues, ended up in Kenya, went on maternity leave, came back.
Sandra, thank you. Good evening, my name is Kofi Anku. I moved back to Ghana. I didn't really move back then. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, to Ghanaian parents. I moved to Ghana about 15 years ago full-time, and have been involved in real estate endeavors and also agriculture. But I'm going to leave the backstory for a minute and just talk specifically about how the people on this panel are connected and how Ghana really works. So Herman is my best friend, and I've been hanging out with Herman doing exactly what he described in terms of if you need to make a contact, reach out to somebody who can open a door for you. But there's a piece that's key, and it's you have to try and add value to the person whom you're trying to connect with. Because there's this back channel. Even this panel, Kwame is a very good friend of mine, and it's not because we grew up together or we spent time working in the same space. It's he supports my business. That when I'm busy trying to sell houses in London, a city that I didn't grow up in, Kwame supports those efforts. And I'm happy to reciprocate when I see an opportunity to support his efforts. So all the people on the panel are friends of mine, and I've asked them to come and speak here because Kwame extends himself in extraordinary ways for me as well. And amongst the panel, I think that's also true. When I'm stuck and I have a contractual issue.
Even more powerful. So I'm going to share with you how I came to meet Kofi and how I came to be here. So I moved to Ghana with my husband and 3 children. And so in the first few weeks and months, I spent a lot of time in the school. We have something in common, which is that we were both returnees and we had both grown up in other parts of the world. So she, invited me to a dinner at her house, and I, immediately accepted and went. At that dinner, I met not Herman, but Herman's wife, Sadia, and got to befriend her. And then Sadia invited me to her house. I met Herman, and if any of you have met Herman, you'll know that to meet Herman is to have a series of amazing conversations. Herman had a party, and at one of those parties, I met Kofi. And that's really how things have evolved for me here. So it's being open and meeting people with whom you share values and interests. I think this is true of networking anywhere, but it's very easy to get the sense that here networking is about meeting lots of government officials and people who are, quote, powerful people. I'll tell you, when I first came and I was looking for a job, I was taken to meet some of these big names, and nothing came of those things. The most valuable connections I've made are with people like Kofi and people with whom I share something, important. And the importance of, there's a huge overlap between social network and business network. So just because, the first person didn't necessarily refer a piece of work, doesn't mean that's not a great business, that's not a great social networking, but also good business networking opportunity. So look at every opportunity to build your network socially and professionally. The other thing that I wanted to share was the importance of, I think you've heard this, or you probably hear this at every diaspora event, the importance of coming and observing, seeing how things are done, and trying to fit in. When I first came back, I think I had to stay with my in-laws for a bit before our home was ready for us to move into. And my mother-in-law had this stove and a series of, a stove that I'd never, I hadn't seen anything like it. I was used to the gas stove, you turn it on and then the thing lights up by itself. Well, she had a stove where you had to light a match and, So first couple of days I observed what was happening, and I had to get my children ready for school. Fairly simple thing. They were not used to cold showers, and we were using, buckets to take a bath. So every morning I would wake up super early and go boil the water with these pots that didn't have handles on this stove, almost sort of lighting my hair ablaze every single time. But it was really important to me to be seen to be, doing morning.
So I worked there for about a year, but the whole time that I was there, I was actually thinking, growing up, I always had ambitions of being financially independent, at least by 30 years. So while I was about 25, I was still there on 500 cedis a month. So I kept telling myself that if I'm making 500 cedis a month, logically it was never going to work. That kind of salary that before the month ends, you actually borrowed some monies and then you're living on negative income. So I kept reading books about entrepreneurship. I wanted to quit. And then one day I just took the decision to resign and find my own path. One of the things that made it easy for me to do that was that I went into a moment of I call it self-discovery. So I sat down and then I realized that everywhere I had worked, I always had problems with authority. You know, from school to internship and everywhere. Then I just decided that, okay, I'm going to accept how I am. Instead of trying to fit into environments that were not going to work for me, let me find these attributes that I have that actually make me fall in trouble all the time and redefine them. So the word stubbornness, for example, I wrote it down and I said, nah, from today, I wouldn't agree that I'm stubborn, but I am determined. I took all the words and I redefined them. Then I looked at them and I said, okay, how am I going to put these attributes together to good industry? So I resigned, and then before actually resigning, I was talking to one guy who was doing the same job for a different hotel. And I said, Solomon, 500 cedis a month was not going to make us financially independent. We've been here for a year, so logically the next year we'll still be here. Nothing would actually change unless we cause the change. And for me, the earlier the better. You know, but then Solomon, like a lot of people, would just tell me that it's better to remain on 500 cedis than go into the unknown. What if you go out there? There are no jobs there. But I believed so much in myself that I was a very multi-talented person, and there's no way I should remain poor, broke. So I realized that Solomon was trying very hard. He was actively trying to convince me not to leave. Very hard trying to convince me. And I told him, you know what? I think I'm talking to the wrong person. Let's not have this talk again. Then I went back to work. I wrote a letter and I resigned. I stayed home. Sometime 5 years ago, I never liked wristwatches at all, to even start with. I never owned one. I had one that was not working. So I wanted to start a new business. I spotted second-hand jackets, and I would go to Circle and buy a few of them, iron them, and, you know, hawk from here to there. But I wanted to look the part. I was selling suits. I had to look a little dapper. So I went into a shop trying to buy a watch, and I had 50 cedis on me. And the watch was 150 cedis. And I said, how can a watch cost that much? 150 cedis. So I went back and I saw somebody selling a watch for 50 cedis on kemu.com. Yeah. So I called him, he came, and then I bought the watch. So I put the watch on my hand and I took a picture. Somebody saw the picture and asked whether I was selling it. And I said, yes. So he came, he bought the watch, and I made a profit of about 60 cedis. And that was it for me. I mean, it was just like, whoa, I just made 60 cedis. What if I sold 2? What if I sold 3? I took a pen and paper. I was walking up and down my room, writing things down. I mean, as a business person, to identify opportunity, I think that's what I did there. So I called a guy, he came back and I bought 2. Then I sold a 2 and then bought 3 and I sold 3 and I bought 4. And I bought 5 and I bought 6. And then I started selling watches, started hawking watches in the streets, people's car parks. I had actually been to Mr. Herman's office before, hawking my watches. Then I was not satisfied with only selling watches, so I had to add value. My brother mentioned adding value, and I realized that there were a few people selling watches, but that was it. They were just selling watches. I wanted to be a step ahead. Then I decided to learn how to repair watches. For the people who had spoiled watches, didn't want to buy new ones, I could just repair their watches. So I approached the roadside watch repairers. I would go sit by them from morning till evening, being an apprentice to them, and started learning how to repair watches. So it took me some time. I learned how to break watches apart, put them together, how to do basic things on watches. Then I started repairing watches for people. Then I was not satisfied. I said, look, there are people who had good watches, but their leather straps were bad. So how if I learn how to make good quality leather straps, I could serve those people. Then I went to Kantamanto, the local leather market here. And I became an apprentice to shoemakers. So I would go every day, learn how to treat leather, how to stitch leather, learn the features of leather and all that. And about 3 months, I started gathering equipment. I put all the equipment into my room. Then I started making leather straps in my room. Very bad leather straps. Horrible ones. But I made about a lot of them. It would take me about 5 hours to do a pair of straps, and I did about 200 of them. But with every bad one, I got closer to the good ones. So then, after making leather straps, I was not satisfied. I questioned myself that all the watches that I had been selling were all imported. I'm like, how come the whole of Africa? I kept looking. Why are there no African brands, significant ones in the watch industry? The question of why, I kept asking myself, and then I'm like, okay, let me find out what it takes to make one. If I know how they work, I know how they build, what does it take to make one? So that was the next stage for me. And the stage of having a great idea, putting a business plan together, start approaching people you believe are wealthy and may buy into your idea. Most of the times it never really happens. Nobody will give you money. So I said, okay, just like how I started selling watches with 50 cities, let me break this down to the most basic stage and just make one. If I make one, then I can make 2, and I can make 3. So I broke it down, and all the money I had made from hawking watches, I brought all that money back just to make one of my own watches called Caveman Watches. And the question of why the name Caveman, I mean, when I was making leather straps in my room, I became so much of an indoor person, and I was watching documentaries all the time about how, even up till now, the modern day scientists cannot understand how those people built structures like the pyramids. So I started getting very curious how intelligent those guys were, and how up till now there are cave findings in museums that are still very durable. So I said, okay, I'm going to build a brand that would implement the features, the values of originality, durability, and the ingenuity of the caveman's work. So then I came with the name Caveman, and I started with 1 watch, 2 watches, 3 watches. And it's been a very short time, but I mean, I think God being so good, we had made a lot of significant strides, very good milestones. And I happen to be the founder of Ghana's only watchmaking company, Caveman Watches.
But what is the brand Caveman Watches? In 1 minute.
Caveman is Ghana's only watchmaking factory. We have the dream to rival the giants in the watch industry, the horology market, and while doing that, employ as many people as we can and give back to our community as much as we can.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from the horse's own mouth. This is CEO of Caveman Watches. Thank you very much. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, where there is art.
Oh, I should have released you. Forgive me, please. You may return to your seats and have a view of the art piece. Wow. We're touched by your kindness. And so, I think it falls to Kwame Uguado to receive this gesture and render his closing remarks.
Thank you so much. To do an auction and someone will be able to do that, but thank you so much, Safari, for donating this to us. And for you all, everyone that came in, obviously, a lot of you don't know who we are. And organizing a program away from London, whilst being in London and doing a program here, it's very tough. And we had some amazing guys. We have Mina, who amazing lady. I have my own brother, Julian. Every time, Kwame, what do we do here and there? But thank you so much. And for the panelists, Kofi Anku, Kofi will tell you, I said, Kofi, what can we do here? He said, okay, cool, okay, call this person, call that person. So I think the only person that I reached out to was Nana Mabuche. Other than that, everyone else, Kofi just gave me their numbers. And actually, some of them I didn't actually call them. Just put their pictures on the poster.
And I had a hard one, yeah. So thank you to everyone. I think I can see some faces here. I can see Michael Richardson. I think a lot of people know what Migration to Ghana is all about. And what we're trying to do is to create a network, and not just a network, but a community where we can interact, we can learn from one another, and we can support one another. So the group itself started this year, around about February, and God being so good, around about September, October, a few of the group actually came together and we bought 50 acres of land in Central Region, which we're going to create our own community. So there's 26 people, but 50 acres, where we're now going to decide on what kind of houses that we want, because I mean, I really can't have Michael having a bigger house than myself. So we're going to come up. But the whole idea is to support one another, build communities, interact with one another, get to know one another, because there's so many faces here that Michael, especially, I keep mentioning Michael, Julian, Mina, and I don't know any of them from anywhere. But we've been able to work together to put this together. And that shows that we can work together if we put our minds to it. And it's up to us to come out of our shell, and also being able to bridge the gap between them and us. Because, although we're from abroad, we're no better than, those in Ghana. So as much as we call ourselves the diaspora, we need to make sure that we embed ourselves with the locals. So the network itself it's partly diasporans and also partly locals, so that we can bridge. Because I've learned so much from Julian, he has no idea. I learned so much from him. I learned a lot from Mina. I learned a lot from so many people. So thank you so much. And I cannot give the mic away without saying a big thank you to Jerry. Jerry, amazing. I was telling a story about how we decided to go for Jerry, because as part of the planning committee, I was part of the member. I wasn't heading, Jackie was heading the committee. And so when the discussion came as to who the MC was to be, I think a few people kept coming up with name. And I said, on this occasion, I'll use my veto powers and literally detect and say that, no, it has to be Jerry. So I got my way. And so Jerry, thank you so much for coming. And Jazz Kings as well, Jazz Kings. George is my schoolmate, so I decided to get in touch with him. He came out, and Daniel as well. Daniel is the guy who's doing the photos and also the live streaming. He's also my junior in school as well. So I tried to get everybody involved to try and make it a wonderful experience for you. So by God's grace, next year we'll be back again and make it even better. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much. So Kwame, just stay with me a little while. Let's take this out of sight. Thank you very much, Mr. Yamsafori. Please draw close. It's the devil. But still nothing missing, nothing broken. All that we've done today teaches me something. A new definition of success. Success to me, from all that I've seen and heard, is a connection of relationships. But tonight, if that is real, it's because of the selflessness of this brother of ours. The least I can ask you to do is to rise and with a resounding round of applause, help me celebrate him in a grand way. Kwame, we're ever so proud of you for all that you've done. You're so giving of your time, your resources, everything that you have in order to make us a community. And with that, we want to say thank you in a very symbolic way by celebrating what should have been celebrated in April. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Kwame Opokuado's 40th. Let's have the birthday cake right about now.
Happy birthday to you.
Let's have the table right about now.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Papa. Happy to
birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Okay. Bring it down, bring it down. Now this plot was hatched by two great friends of yours, ladies and gentlemen, Kofi Anku and Mr. Herman Shinrihese. Why don't they join their brother here to cut this lovely cake? And so let's light it up. And one for every decade. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to count from 1 to 4. Are we ready? Kwame will say, may God bless and keep you always. May all your dreams come true. May you do for others and have others do for you same way. But most of all, may you live forever young. Ladies and gentlemen, let's count. And so 1, all hands on deck. 2, oh. You see, boys don't know how to cut cake. Don't worry, let's go. So 1, M1, okay. 3, 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we say, happy birthday! Jackie, please join for a photograph.
May God bless you. May God bless. May God bless. May God bless you now. May God bless you now. May God bless you now. May God bless. May God bless. May God bless you now. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray. Hip, hip, hip.
Okay, bring it down. Hip, hip. And so, Mr. Uncle, let's have you back. Ladies and gentlemen, as one big family, as many as can, let's come around and take a group photograph with the celebrants. Please, let's have all of you from your seats. Join the celebrants as we take one big photo.